Hello everyone, my name is Marlon and I'm the author of this Fire Emblem mod. It's called Microhacking and its main goal was to give a voice to all of those Fire Emblem fans that are not familiar with the hacking community. This was made by giving the fans the option to just ask about what they wanted to see in this Fire Emblem hack. For example, we added the skill system made by Circles Everywhere, one of the best hackers in our community. Also, as you can see, now we have Hector on screen. It was one of the requests from the people on my YouTube channel. We can see also that the Revenants have the effective weapons against infantry units. This was made so we could make the Fire Emblem Sacred Stones a little bit harder, not just by making the enemy growths inflated, but also by giving some ways to play around your own strategy. As you can see, every monster now has an effective weapon against some kind of unit. The Remnants will have effectiveness against both armored units and against infantry units with the different claws they are using. Also, as you can see, you will see in a few moments, there you can see that also the Mughals have effectiveness against Arthur, but they don't have effectiveness against Erika. This means that the Mughals have some weapon that is effective against the magic users. In this case, you can see that there are some exclamation marks on some enemies. These enemies are the ones that have effectiveness against your units. Now let's wait a little bit to see. This hack is a little bit simple. It has a bit of elements of crossover. Some dialogues have been changed to match the new characters that are coming from other FE Fire Emblem games. Also, don't worry, I'm not playing professionally here, I'm just playing to show you what every unit is capable of, every enemy. So it sometimes might look like I'm a little bit suicidal. But as you can see, this made this chapter, specifically this chapter 4, significantly harder compared to what it was in the vanilla game. So let's now show off some more of the units that are in this game. As you can see now, Sophia joins with us in this game. This takes a little bit from her Fire Emblem Heroes counterpart. She gets her Eternal Tome. Sometime maybe I might make the custom animation for it. For now it just has a placeholder. And they have the skills that the skill system grants. Also, the enemy growths have been increased a little bit, so as you can see they are a little bit harder to put down. They will not go down just in 1 or 2 hits. According to the level, this is a legitimate run without any cheats. Usually I'm using cheats in my other rounds just to get around the chapters faster, but this is a specific run to show you how it will see the game experience without using any cheats. One of the main goals of this hack was to make it harder, as I said before. You can actually play it recklessly, since if you try to play recklessly, especially in the presence of monsters that were just fodder in the vanilla game, you might end up being killed really easily by one of them, since they are using the effective weapons. For example, you need to do the thing, play safely, try to improve your strategy. For example, there Erika could have been killed by just one shot from the Revenant. Also, the monsters have gained some skills too. Now, if you think you can still solo the game just by using Zed, let's check out if that is still right. We're going to put Zed right in the middle of the fire. I put him in the woods, but let's make it a little bit harder for him. As you can see also, he can now use axes, because people ask that the paladin should get access back again. Now, Zed is safe there, getting the kill as always. They are coming after Vanessa now. And now, if you can see, they almost one-shot Lute, or the Lute as anyone calls her. Easy dodge for Zed. Now let's see if Zed can handle this. Now, as you can see, the Fiery Fang, it's effective against cavalry. Like the Wolf Tongues are effective against cavalry, just a little bit reference to that. Also, the Mouthy Dogs have increased critical chance, so I might nerf that. It's too much for unpromoted classes. As I said before, the Golden Eye is going to be effective against magic users. So now the Mughals are a little bit harder too. Not invincible, as you can see, but they're still a more challenging threat. Now, without Zed, the game gets a little harder. As you can see, we are surrounded by enemies, and most of them have effective weapons against your army, which makes it a little tougher to surpass this map, especially since this map is designed to be a defeat all enemies. As I said, the main objective of this map is to defeat all enemies, so it's harder, as I said, when almost every unit in the field is effective against your army. Now we see the Eternal Tomb is just using the Mortis Demon Light. We hope to make a custom animation for later. Now I have to admit I'm a little stuck here, since most of my units are injured and some of them are really isolated from the others, and there's little chance to kill all of the enemies. So now you have to be very careful with every move you make. It's not as hard as the 30% growths, but this one is also harder than the original version. Now I hope this strategy works. Also increase a little bit the strength of the monster weapons. They were quite weak and they had too little hit to begin with. So monsters, as I said, were just fodder. They were hardly a threat in the original version. And what Seth tells us is that they are really dangerous and normal soldiers cannot get them. And we can say that the units you get are exceptionally strong, but that should not be the case. Since the lore says the monsters are strong and dangerous, they should be strong and dangerous too. Now it might just be my opinion, but the monsters are not so one of the best parts of the Sacred Stones, since they seem like they have not the work they deserve. According to the lore, as I said before, they needed to be stronger, and that's the perception that people had from Sacred Stones, that was so easy because all of the monsters were easy to put down. Instead of the regular soldier units, they are a bit stronger than the monsters. So also they have little work and or maybe little effort, since they were mainly focused on making the animation for the new classes. Also we're adding new custom animations made by the community for the promoted monsters, and as I say, they are getting special skills. As you can see now, they can get a lot of crit. It's just about what I wanted, so I'm going to nerf it a little bit, make it a little more possible to pass these missions, these chapters. Now I'm banking pretty much everything on my luck, in the critical hit and in the chance to avoid. In your game you should not do that because you will lose a lot of your units. In this hack, the first challenge you will get is this chapter 4. As you can see, you will need to use all of your units with great dexterity, so you can pass this chapter. As I said before, this is not an impossible chapter. Even if I'm not getting all of my units alive, you should be able to pass this chapter without losing any of your units. You just need careful planning and a lot of strategy, as it should be with these kind of games. And be aware of the effectiveness of the enemies. There's also the help for the player. This exclamation mark will warn you about the enemies that have effective damage against you, so you don't go blindly. And also you should always check the stats and skills, weapons and everything else in your enemies. The new monster weapons don't necessarily have the description of what they do, but they do show the might, the hit, critical and every other information that was reserved to human weapons. So now you don't go completely blindly, but they will not state literally in their description what effects they have against your units. You will have to pay attention to the exclamation mark that appears in the head of the enemy units. If you belong to the Fire Emblem hacking community, I really don't need to explain the skill system. I didn't make it myself, it was circles everywhere. So it contains a lot of skills from previous and for newer games. For example, they have the blow skills, They have Darting Blow, Death Blow, two versions of it, one that increases critical and one that increases might. They have the Pursuit, they have, for example, Miracle. All of these skills, some of them are like Heroes exclusive as far as I know. I don't know of any other game that has Armor March. So you will find skills that are more likely for every character. I mean, skills that fit their personality, their fighting style. As you know, the classes have skills, characters have personal skills, and also now the weapons will have skills too. The skills will be mainly reserved for those preferred or special weapons, legendary weapons, S weapons, and regular weapons will not get skills. Some of the monster weapons will get skills too. Besides the effectiveness that they have against most of your units. For example, here with our little Sophia, we get the nullification of the effectiveness, so she will be essential to your run. Try to take care of her. I try to make her more useful. And now there goes down Hector, even with just a 37% hit, but as you know, that's normal in Fire Emblem games. Sometimes the RNG is just crazy, like now I'm avoiding a 61 hit attack with Gilliam, and that's just dumb. As I was saying, Sophia will be vital to your run since she will not be affected by the enemy effectiveness, and also she will get the bracing stance. She will be a little more of a tank than she was in the FE6. She's getting a little buff in her growths, and many of the Fire Emblem characters from other games are getting a little buff in their growths if those seem needed. Now let's see, as you can see, she's not enough to kill the boss of the game, of this chapter, and also she gets a lot of damage in retaliation, excuse me. And now also more of the monsters are getting ranged weapons. The claws, the fangs, and as you can see now, the eyes and the fangs will get ranged weapons, so the monsters are not easy pick for ranged attackers. Now poison is making everything harder, so you have to be really careful of your units. They will be also losing health, and you have only one cleric, that is Mulder. So as I said, you must play with this chapter with your best strategies. At this point the chapter is pretty much over. Now the only enemies that we have left are the boss and that dreadnought over there. I must be ready to face them since they are very challenging. Now there are still a little bit more surprises left in this hack. There is still a lot of room for improvement. As you can see, Hector did not have a death quote, so I'm a little Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of miscalculation on my part. Franz is not dodging that attack, so if he can't dodge the next attack, he's down. So it will make 3 units lost in this run. Now let's give the kill to Sophia, as the final boss of this chapter, of course. And Franz is alive for a little bit. Now all that's left, as you can see, is the boss of this chapter. He hits pretty hard, but it's not effective against flyers, so Vanessa is still safe. Now we drop Sophia so she can face him. As I said before, she has immunity against effective weapons, so she should be fine against this Entomb that is a total coward since he decided to not attack. Let's attack up front since we can't avoid that attack. And now she launches a critical finally with just 6% crit. And this chapter is finally over. Now, some people ask me since I'm increasing the overall difficulty of facing monsters and also making the tower a lot harder, it's not going to be just a happy grinding place. Now let's pass to the tower. People ask me to make the rewards better, so let's just try to get the new weapons that it's a little bit of a surprise. Let's use the warp. This is cheated, as you can see, but it's just for efficiency purposes. I added a lot of new weapons and new rewards for the random chests. Many of the regular chests, like this one here, this one used to just yield some gems, but now it has a lot of different weapons, so I'm gonna try to get as many as I can. They are not a very high probability weapon, so it might take a while. Let's see what we get after we end this turn. Well, after the enemy ends his turn. Now, barely at the end of the video, I'm just a little bit of a disclaimer. As you can see, I'm not a native English speaker, so this is going to have a lot of grammatical and other type of errors when I'm speaking. My accent is still a little too much, so I hope that it doesn't bother you. I hope that you could get to understand what I wanted to communicate. So now let's wait a little bit more so Calm can open the chest. Now let's see if I can get the new weapons I was talking about. And it's a silver axe, so let's wait again. I'm going to redo all the process as many times as we need to do. Now trust me, you don't get a different item from the chest when you just use your save states. It looks like the RN is just fixed for every chapter or every try, excuse me. And let's see if this time we get the weapons I'm talking about. And yes, we get the Gradibus. So in this chest, the main goal was to get all of the Regalia weapons from the Arcana games. So you could get the Gradibus, the Hoteclair, Partia, and also Mercurius. They have skills. For example, the Gradibus, as you can see, is range. It's a ranged weapon, and you can also get the renewal effect. 20% health is restored on every turn. That's at least how I remember it. The Mercurius has the Paragon or Adept skill, I'm not sure which one, but it boosts your growth rates as the old Arcania Mercurius did. They are a little bit weaker since they have just incredibly good effects. Hoteclair increases the damage output and has a little bit of extra critical. And Partia also gives you a little bit of a defensive bonus. Okay, now that's pretty much everything I have to show for this Fire Emblem E3. I hope you like this micro-hacking video. We're still working on it. We're going to polish a lot of the areas it still has some issues. We're fixing the bugs, and I hope please support the other projects in the Fire Emblem E3. And goodbye, hope you have a great day.